Hello, George.
Hello, Joss. Where are you?
I am in Devon for once.
That's
Thank
nice.
God. Where are you?
I'm in Mornington Crescent, not so glamorous.
Have you been locked down there for a while?
Well, I sort of was in Australia at the beginning of lockdown, and I came back just before they shut everything down in London. So I was on my own in central London for about 3 months, and then I moved to North London because my house is actually being refurbished right now. So I couldn't go home, which would have been ideal. So I've been sort of renting mostly properties belonging to famous people.
Of course.
So I can now say I've slept in the same bed as James Corden, Emma Stone.
Oh my God.
Orlando Bloom. That's been years coming.
Bed sheets. Wow. Were they all silk?
No, they were cotton. But I'm not sure if they actually slept in the same bed. But one has to assume if you're Orlando Bloom, you're going to sleep in the master room.
Yes, one of those massive, long, big beds where you can fit like 8 or 10 people.
Well, I don't share a bed. I don't like to share a bed.
Do you not?
No. I'm
not
like
even
the Queen.
with someone that you love so much?
I love them so much. I don't want them to have to put up with me snoring the entire night.
Well, that's fair enough. That's actually quite considerate of you, I'd say. It's nice to do the starfish.
Sleeping is, it's a time to sleep. I don't need to be lying, do what you need to do and then move to another room.
Do you know what? It was something awful happened the other night. I got really upset because I kind of leant over to just kind of touch my boyfriend's arm. I was having a dream and I was like, oh, where is he? Cody. And I touched his arm and it really pissed him off in the middle of his sleep. And I was like, babe, will you hold my hand? And he went, oh, for God's sake, get off me. I'm trying to sleep. And I guess he was in a bad dream and I was in a really good dream.
I think that, my sort of rules avoid those sorts of incidents. I think it's a good idea. It works for the Queen. Look how long she's been in business.
Yeah, exactly. That is so true. I think we should all take something out of the Queen's book, personally.
Absolutely.
I love Queenie. I'm a big fan. I think she's awesome.
Yeah, I think she's pretty amazing. I've never met the Queen. Have you met the Queen?
Oh my God, George. I have the worst story. Yes, I met the Queen. Right. So I just think she's amazing and represents our country with such class. So I sang for her at her birthday. It was like the Jubilee. And they had all of these horses come in from all around the world to perform for her. And after my song, which was the last one, I come off stage and, I sing barefoot just because I can't be bothered to put shoes on. So I come off stage. They're like, Joss, you have to get in the lineup to meet the Queen. Otherwise you're going to miss it. And I was like, all right, but I need to get my shoes on. They're like, no, just go now. So I run through piles and piles of horse shit to get to the Queen. And then I'm stood there with my feet literally in horse shit. And the Queen comes up and I'm like, oh God, I hope she doesn't notice. And I just do this cute little curtsy and nothing was said. No hello, nothing. She just moved on. I was like, oh my God.
I was just thinking as you were telling me that story, this is a song that's writing itself. That's the best opening line to a pop song I've heard in years. I ran through horse shit to meet the Queen.
Oh my God, it's terrible. Yeah, we need to do some writing for sure. How's your music coming?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of writing actually, and I've been really, obviously I work with a lot of people virtually, so I've got all these different cats that send me backing tracks and vibes, and in different sort of stages of readiness, and I just sit and play them and just invent stories. Some of it is my own stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I've been through that I can always draw on. If I'm in need of a moment of tragedy, there's always a corner that I can pull something from. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm unhappy or that I'm feeling that way at the time. But you can draw on those things. And also you can kind of, I think, sometimes be a bit more objective and a bit more surreal when you've got a bit of space from a moment,
That's so true. I was reading something about you, and it might be absolutely not true, as we know the press kind of do that. But I heard that you kind of turned to Buddhism to get through your recovery from heroin. Is that right? Or is that just completely not true?
Well, it's an interesting one because when I most needed it and could have used it, I rejected it.
Oh.
And then I was kind of I was in a really good place a few years ago, like 9 years ago. I just got clean and I just felt something was missing from my life. And I kept bumping into all these old friends of mine that I'd met at Buddhist meetings. And so I just thought, the universe is trying to tell me something. And I started chanting again, and I didn't really understand the power of what it was. And certainly, even now, actually, I'm still learning, the power of those words and what they mean. And, the whole point of chanting is to kind of resonate with the sort of frequencies of the universe. It sounds completely pretentious, but
it sounds kind of lovely though. It sounds meditative. Does it put you into a sort of trance? Or
it is if you what you're supposed to do is chant for your heart's desires, what it is you really want.
Okay.
And that's okay if it's a car, but you'll probably find that once you've sort of had a good chant, it's not really the car that you're after. It's the sort of maybe the feeling that the car leaves you with, the sort of sense of superiority or whatever it may be, or, up in your own worth or whatever. But I think that when you chant, you get to where you need to get to in terms of what you're trying to connect with. So I find it really powerful. And, because I've been working for the last year with an amazing acting coach, not because I want to act, because I wanted to kind of improve my on-stage confidence in a way. I wanted to kind of I wanted to see whether I could find some other edges to propel me forward. And so through doing that, I've actually worked a lot more with language than I ever did because I got kicked out of school. So I don't have any qualifications.
High five.
I don't even have GCEs. I mean, it's shocking.
Isn't it crazy? And you managed to get a job anyway.
I managed to, get a few jobs, but they weren't jobs I wanted, though. I guess being a musician is a bit of a job because you always end up working for someone. But
that's true.
I don't think about it as I did about working stocking the shelves at Tesco's.
Yeah, it's a different type of job. Yeah,
it's all about levels of compromise, with anything that you do,
Yeah. So with the Buddhism thing, you've taken on the chanting, it's definitely helped. Are there other aspects of it? Like the karmic? I know I hear a lot about karma with Buddhism, and sometimes I feel like the karma thing goes a little bit far. So like you've got people that are born without a working body, and maybe somebody that was deep into Buddhism might believe that they deserve it because of their karma from a last life. But then also karma can be a really beautiful idea to place into your life, so then you treat people well. So I wonder how deeply you've looked into that.
Well, I think, I've had those conversations and they, I'm sure like yourself, when I hear people saying things like that, it makes my whole body kind of contort, What they're trying to tell you is that life is brutal and life is challenging. But I don't know, I would always remove the accusation out of that statement and say, in my understanding of the word karma, it just means action. But I actually think karma is about in the moment. It's about now because, and the universe. I went back into therapy during lockdown. I've done a lot of therapy over the years, but I foolishly thought I didn't need any more.
We all need a bit of therapy.
And I have to say that, it's, I think the word karma is really a useful word in what I'm about to say now, because although I'm very smart and I understand that, madness is doing the same thing over and over and thinking you're going to get a different result. In theory, I get it, but it's so easy to slip back into what you're familiar with and what do and what you know.
Comfort.
And, I think that what I've been learning in the last few months is to really understand my own patterns of behavior and why I do the things I do and why I say the things I say. And I have to say that even though I've worked on this stuff before, I feel like at this point in my life, and maybe because of this gift of solitude and isolation, is that, I've been sort of forced to spend time with myself outside of the matrix. You and I, we work hard. We're always on tour. We're always busy.
Yeah,
we're always busy. And sometimes with emotions, you can put it in a song and then you put it over here. You chuck it to the side. I've contained that in a melody, dealt with that emotion, and you get to sing it out on stage. And you couldn't always be in that state of mind if you were, if you was up on stage, singing whatever, some heartbreak song that you've written, sometimes you have to kind of put a little bit of acting in because you're having a great day. And
yeah,
it is quite a mad process, performing and songwriting.
Yeah, I think it can be our therapy, but then like now, because that's been halted for us, the performance aspect of it, it's kind of like, no, you can't have that anymore, not for a year. And it feels a little bit weird because that's our moment to really kind of express ourselves and go, oh, let me get this out.
But one of the luxuries of this time, I mean, I met with a friend of mine last week who at the beginning of the lockdown was very much anti, every aspect of it. I'm being controlled, la, 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 to a point where when I met him last week, he was in a Zen state and he was saying, as I've been saying, this pandemic has been, a good thing for some people and it's been terrible for other people. And you just got to be careful, when people say, oh, I have to wear a mask and, oh, I can't go out. And it's like, really, some people have been on their own for months and they have no one to help them, no one to cry to. So it's also about getting things in perspective. And it makes me realize how lucky I am and how privileged I am and that I shouldn't take that for granted. So in that way, it's been a good thing. And, I've been able to kind of work on some sort of personal stuff, and just kind of look at myself a bit and write some beautiful music. And I always think that sort of, when you start to explore yourself emotionally, you can start writing some really interesting lyrics, and I think that is great, because obviously as a writer, you don't really want to be repeating yourself. You always want to find new ways to look at love,
True. That's so true, isn't it? Oh, the time to write, if we don't have the time.
It's a mountain that you have to climb. It's like, well, I've tried that way up. Let me try this way up. And, it's interesting, I think.
It's true. And everything seems to revolve around love. When we start, writing a song about, I don't know, driving your car to work and that's about it. It just doesn't have the deepness that we're looking for. It feels like love is it. Love is the reason.
Mark Bolan had a great lyric about cars. It was like, I had a car, it was old, it was kind. I gave it my mind and it disappeared. So I think if you're going to write about cars, you can only do it in a surreal.
Yeah. I was driving in my car.
Oh, my car hates me, whatever, if you're going to go down a country route, you can go down that way. But I think what I've discovered, not in the last year, but in the last couple of years, I've sort of learned to get out of my own way creatively, because in the old days when I was writing a song, it was like such a process. I'm going to sit down and write a song and it's got to be this, it's got to be that. And actually now I just kind of don't think about that. I think about what I want to say. What are the lyrics? What's the opening line? What's the best opening line? And you think about all these great songs that we love, you think, oh yeah, but that opening line is just the best,
Yeah. And then the rest
it's always
flows
something
like dominoes.
Conversational, as you know, I came to see you doing Burt Bacharach and it was just so beautiful to, those songs are so embedded in our psyche. We know those songs, and I think I told you at the time, I just want to give you a compliment because I liked how you were really respectful to what they were. And then occasionally you chucked in this little Josh moment that was like, okay, it was nice. It was really nicely done. And I know that you've got some words and all of that, but it was for the audience. I have to say that I don't know if anybody else other than you even cared about, that.
I felt so embarrassed after that show. I'm so glad that you came, but I'm also like,
you had no need.
Why did he have to come to that one?
No, I had such a different experience because I know you as a belter. I know you as this big voice, soul goddess. And then to hear you doing such tender Burt Bacharach songs was a revelation, I have to say. I thought it was amazing.
Aww.
I was tweeting our mutual friend, James Gardner Bateman, saying, oh my God, she's really amazing.
Oh, it's so sweet.
No, really. You are really a great singer. Technically, one of the best voices in this country, I will say.
Oh, come on. I don't know about that.
No.
But that's very, very sweet.
No, I'm not being sweet at all. When you came into the studio and I heard you on the mic, and I knew you were having a drink that day.
Oh no, I know. Do you know what? I never normally sing when I drink, but I thought we just kind of fancy popping in to see you.
It was a great thing.
Fun.
It was on a par with Elton John playing piano with Mark Bolan. That was what it was like for me. It was good.
That's so
and
nice.
You sound amazing on the track, and I won't ever tell anyone it's you.
No, never tell anyone. No, don't, because I sound very croaky.
You sound
we
amazing.
have to do more.
Honestly.
We should do more, because it's like joy making. It's fun, isn't it, to just have a little laugh in the studio? You know, making music is a big thing for general happiness, I think.
I was thinking about that, you know, because obviously at the moment I'm doing a few collaborations with people here, there, and you know, it's always a bit difficult to get those things to work, because people, you know, being an artist is such a singular thing, isn't it? It's like you've got to protect your little, you know, your universe that you've created. And so, you know, drawing someone into that circle, you know, I mean, I don't know about you, Joss, but finding people that you connect with musically, you know, not just in the way they play an instrument, but just
who they are,
sort of getting you a little bit, you know, like they just get you.
Yeah.
You don't have to have those really boring conversations, you know.
The small talk in between writing each line. It's like, oh God, no, this is not vibing. It's actually kind of an intimate thing. It can get that way. I don't know about you, but you know, it's easy to fall in love with somebody that you're making music with. It can happen if you do it for too long. That happened to me, actually. You know, oh wow, he plays the bass so amazing, or the lyrics or the melody. Oh my God, I actually am in love with him. And really, he could play a total arsehole, but you just love the music.
I think when people are talented, it adds an extra kind of, you know, a sort of a layer of sensuality to their existence.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
Actually, if you're, you know, if you're an amazing musician, you don't even have to be pretty.
It's true. You just have to be in a motor. And that's it. So, okay, Rich told me earlier, a little quote from Johann Hari says, the antidote to addiction is connection. Now, I don't know whether he means spiritually or physically, but you are very good at spending time on your own and being happy in your own company. Through the lockdown, how has that been? Have you been around people, or have you had somebody to like hug and have that connection with, or does it even matter? And, you know, I could do with some advice on this, because I am crap on my own, like crap. I feel like not happy.
I think the thing about the lockdown is that what it does is, you know, in normal circumstances, someone like me would have the spontaneity to, if I fancied seeing someone, that was an option.
Yes.
Whereas now, because of this, you know, that all the spontaneity has been removed from meeting people and arranging things. And, you know, you can't just go and grab a coffee. It's got to be a whole
It's like quarantine
operation.
for 2 weeks, baby, and then I'll see you later.
Yeah, so
I've been weird.
It's interesting. At the beginning of the lockdown, I was talking to certain people a lot, and then other people not at all. And then some of those people drifted away. I went online. I did some online raves that were insane.
That's
I did
crazy.
these Zoom raves, and I was in my hotel room in Piccadilly, like just freaking out to some old school house. And
that's mad. So hang on a minute. I need to understand what that is. So everyone's online in their own house.
Everyone's in their living room, and
banging out
I was
the music.
DJing. I was DJing, and then someone else DJ'd, and
oh my God,
we
how
were
fun.
raving. And sometimes it was just like 200 people, and they were people from Peckham,
That's so cool.
Leeds, there were people of San Francisco. It was really a hoot, but it couldn't happen now. Nobody would have the motivation to do it.
So the connection was there. It was just there in odd ways.
Well, I think that because you mentioned in your question, you know, the connection to addiction, I think what I would say about connectedness is that doing drugs is about not being in your life. You know, it's about disconnecting from your life.
Yeah.
And I think recovery is about reconnecting. So making a connection, I think, is a pivotal way back to sort of a form of sanity, you know. And I think that word is true. And I think that, you know, one of the things that you get told a lot in early recovery is not to isolate, don't cut yourself off. So, you know, what is good is to know that there are people that you can talk to. But yeah, I guess I've learned to be on my own more as I've got older. You know, I live alone. I like living alone. I often have people to stay, but I do like it when they leave.
Yeah.
You know, I like everyone to have a return ticket when they arrive.
It's nice to have your own space, isn't it?
With a date on it. When are you leaving? brilliant. Let's have a great time. You know, because I've had situations over the years where people have come to stay and never left. And I've had a few waifs and strays over the years. But yeah, it's nice to have your own space. And I think that it's made us reach out more to people. And yeah, it's been interesting who wanted to chat and who didn't, you know.
It seems that when we talk about happiness, and I've been doing a lot of that recently because of this podcast, there is kind of like an open-armed feeling from people that are interested in bettering their happiness. And these type of people, they'll maybe read self-help books, or there'll be people that meditate already, or there'll be someone that does a breathing technique or whatever. They're very open to it. But those people are kind of on their way. Now, those that are really struggling with their mental health, really struggling with, say, something tangible like an addiction, a grief, of a loss, or they might have lost their job, not just a person, you know, things like that. Sometimes I feel like these people can get into a place where they feel like there's no hope and there's no chance. And even the conversation or the suggestion that one can help nurture themselves and make themselves happy actually pisses them off, something chronic. Not only do they not want to hear it, they'd just be pissed off. They'd be like, fuck off, lady. I'm not going to be happy and I'm not hearing it. How do we deal with that?
I think it's safe to say that self-realization is a luxury of a certain type of person. You know, I understand that. But, you know, at the same time, there are smart, wise, spiritual people all over the place no, but there are people, you know, in the strangest places that I think what we do as human beings is we're all ready to rush and judge someone based on what they look like, their social class, their color, whatever it may be.
Totally. Yeah.
And, you know, very often we're so wrong, you know, and you have to kind of look back at people and just go, actually, I got that completely wrong. And you know, equally, some people that might seem very alluring and exciting turn out to be a dreadful disappointment when you get too close.
Yeah, can happen.
So I think that, you know, yes, listen, in my own family, there's been a lot of eye rolling over the years when I turn up with my latest, you know, yoga mat or prayer book. Or
they're like, oh, for God's sake, here he comes with his joy.
When I was on Mrs. Brown last year with my mum was so funny. She was like, I think he's a vegetarian this week, you know. And, you know, just because they're so used to. But you know what? I think that looking at these things is a way of just getting more out of life, you know, just breathing. You know, I have to say, it's funny you're talking about breath work, because the last year I've basically become a nose breather, and that makes some people laugh. But
a nose,
you know, I've actually been practicing this Buttigieg breathing. And in fact, James Gardner Bateman was the person that told me about this, because I was talking to him about my asthma. And he said, oh, I did this as a kid. So I started to look into it. And I think what I didn't realize when I started to do breath work was what a multifaceted thing breathing is, that there's all types of breathing. You've got Wim Hof breathing, which is vigorous. It's like going for a jog. Then you've got, you know, Soma breathing. So I've been exploring all the different sort of, you know, breathing techniques. And, you know, obviously I meditate. So slowing down the breath in and out of the nose has been so helpful in terms of clearing my mind. But what happens is that people generally go to something like that out of desperation, you know, and anything that might be, you know, not a pill or a drink or, you know, a quick fix, anything that might involve you getting involved with your own well-being is often resisted, because we live in a society that has given us so many ways to avoid what we feel. Somebody once said to me, you should get therapy before you need it. And I think that's very wise advice.
That is true, you know. I was reading something about relationship therapy early in a relationship. So if you found somebody that you really decide, actually, I really want to be with this person, even if you've only been with them for 6 months or a year, and it was, you know, go to relationship therapy now when you're really early, just to see what's going on. You know, it's nice. I love a bit of therapy. I think it's a beautiful thing to do, just to analyze yourself.
Well, when you start to realize, I think that a lot of us, I don't know about your childhood, but mine was very, explosive. I grew up with a very violent father, and you never knew what was going to happen from one day to the next. So, I've always learned to be defensive before I need to be.
Okay, interesting.
I got my gloves on before the fight started.
You're ready.
Exactly. And I think just learning about that stuff is so helpful in terms of changing patterns and saying, actually, maybe if I do this. Now, listen, there's no guarantee that if you start acting differently, the other person is going to respond. But at least you know that it's a different conversation at that point. If you're loving and vulnerable with somebody and they take advantage of that, then obviously then you have to have another conversation. But there's nothing to lose from self-development and meditation. You don't, spending time with yourself is the most difficult thing to do. And certainly people have been experiencing that during this pandemic, but meditation is like, I choose to just be silent for 20 minutes, give my head a chance, give my brain a chance to shut up.
It's so hard, isn't it? I try, right? I'm like, okay, Joss, practice what you preach, give it a go, have a meditation moment. Okay. I'm sat there. After 2 minutes, I'm like, I'm bored. My brain's going off into a tangent. And, it's such a difficult thing to do.
Try a guided meditation is really good. If you find the right person that can guide you to talk you through it, that could be a great way to get into, sort of taking instruction and just, learning to breathe slowly. But, I think artists, we struggle with this idea of not doing something. It's like, I need to be busy, even if I'm not singing, I've got to write something, or I've got to call this one, I've got to do this. So we've got this compulsion to create, and it's very difficult to get away from that. But I actually think meditation is, oh my God, I love it. I just, there's one of my favorite people is this guy, Eckhart Tolle. He's this sort of spiritual teacher, and sometimes when he's talking, he just stops mid-sentence and just completely goes quiet. He's like...
and he has a moment, a calming moment.
And, you can practice that stuff where you go, I'm just not going to think for a minute.
Huh.
It's not very helpful when you're doing a podcast, actually.
No. Just going to have a little moment, George, if you don't mind. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, listen, if somebody gets angry that you're trying to offer them a solution out of a hole, that may be the reason why they're in the hole.
Exactly. But this is the thing. It's like you've got this whole preaching to the choir thing that's so unhelpful because everyone's already on board. But then what about the people that are genuinely suffering? And it's a bit of a conundrum in my mind, really, because I just want to send them. It was something I was talking to a guy, Arthur Brooks, the other day, and he studies happiness and writes for the Washington Post. He's like a really smart guy. And at the end, he was talking about the Dalai Lama and what he was about. And he goes, just wash it with love. If you just wash everything with love, it's going to get better. It will have a positive. So that's what I want to do for people that are suffering, is somehow send that good vibe and that hug. But, you're only ready when you're ready. And I think we all know that, certainly yourself, but you have to come to it when you're ready.
I've got a really good example of, years ago when I was going through my difficult times, and there's been a few. I can't pick one, but there's been a few. I remember people used to say, I'll pray for you. And I would be so offended. I'd just be like, why are you praying for me? I tell you.
Take your prayer and shove it up your ass.
Now I am like, literally like, get your friends to pray. I love that. I'm just like, because I have a different relationship with myself, and I don't see that as a negative. Whereas I used to see it as you're a God person, therefore you're judging me. And actually, some people, like myself, will take aspects of a faith or an idea and think, that sits really well with me, but I don't agree with that part. And I don't agree with that part. And I think that's what you do. You leave out the bits that don't sit with you. You're like, I don't agree with that,
Yeah.
I don't think all gay people should be damned to hell. Sorry, because I'm one of them. So I think you always have to be objective with religion, with music, with food, all of those things. You always have to use a certain amount of discretion, I think.
Otherwise, it's just following, I guess, a set of rules blindly without thinking, which can be quite dangerous.
Even the Buddha said, question everything I say. Question it.
That's nice. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I was going to say about happiness. I mean, if somebody had asked me years ago and people said, "Are you happy?" I used to think it was a really bizarre question. I'd be like, "What do you mean? Am I happy? I don't know. Am I?"
It's such a huge question.
Yeah. As now, I actually do think you can invest in happiness. You can actually make a choice, whatever the situation, to find, a rainbow in the dark or whatever it may be, or just find some bit of humor. I mean, that's one great thing about being a homosexual, is that you can always draw on your vast legacy and laugh at yourself in a way that some people just can't. No one sends himself up better than a gay man. That you just know what to say in the darkest moments to kind of break the humor. And I think it is important to understand that happiness, just like being unhappy, is, yes, of course, circumstances can force you into misery, of course. And if you've got no money, no job and all the rest of it. But there are people, you go to places like India and you see people living in absolute squalor.
Yeah.
And they have so much love and humility and soul about them.
So you said about your dad being a little bit rather aggressive.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about coming out. So I guess my question is, do you think that people should have to come out at all? Because I can't imagine sitting my parents down at 15 and going, "Mum, Dad, I want you to know that I would like to sleep with men over women. I just want to let you know." I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that awkward conversation. And I can imagine my mum going, "Joss, you can keep your sex life to yourself, love. Thank you very much." So
I think that is pretty much what does happen.
What do you mean? Within the gay community? Certainly not within the straight community.
No, when I was a kid, my sexuality was pointed out to me by other kids when I was 6 years old. I didn't know that I was different or gay.
Oh, so they told you?
Of course, kids have got this unnerving ability to poke you where it hurts. I mean, if you're a kid at school and you're a little bit feminine, you like pop music, you hang out with girls, the message is loud and clear. Oh, right. You're not one of us. You don't want to climb trees. So often you don't have to have that awkward conversation because everybody knows. So
you didn't have to have the kind of situation with your dad, I wonder.
No, well, actually, I did have when I got arrested when I was 15.
Okay,
I was going to meet a man that I was seeing, and he was older than me, and I was definitely, what we were doing was, in the eyes of the law, completely illegal, but in my eyes, it was fine. And I was having a sort of fling with this man, and I went to meet him. He'd been on holiday, and I decided to march up to Heathrow Airport, and meet him off the plane. He hadn't asked me to.
How romantic.
I know, well, I wasn't, because I got arrested. And
oh, no.
The police were like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "I'm 17. They were like, "Yeah, right." And so
you got arrested for meeting a man at 16?
No, I got arrested for being at Heathrow Airport without a good excuse.
I see what
being
you're saying.
underage. Okay. And then they sort of searched me and they found some letters from my suitor. And they realised quite quickly that this was a gay relationship. And then they called my father and told him.
Oh, so is that how he found out?
Yes, although I think he knew because, I was very, very feminine when I was young. I was listening to Shirley Bassey when I was like 10,
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
I think sometimes you don't need to tell your family because you sort of wear what you are so evidently, and the music you listen to and the things that you're interested on telly, the things that would make your brothers leave the room are the things that make you sit there and stare. The first time I ever saw Quentin Crisp, the Naked Civil Servant, that was a sort of mind-blowing moment for me. So I never really had to have that, Mum, by the way. I mean, at some point I confirmed it and said, yes, I'm gay.
Right.
But my dad was incredibly cool about it, weirdly.
That's nice. It sounds like you got lucky on that one. I've heard some really horrible stories, coming out stories.
Yeah.
A friend of mine went to gay conversion therapy in America. And he sent himself there. And he is so accepting of everybody. He's the most beautiful, lovely, smiley, gorgeous human being now, but at the time I think he just hated himself, and I think that obviously is a issue that we have to address.
Yeah, I think one of the important things to say about that is obviously when you're a kid, there isn't, on the menu of when you're born, there's not a choice of gay, transgender, straight.
Right.
You are what you are. You get born with what you've got.
Yeah.
And you grow up sort of trying to suppress that part of you and not really understanding, because you don't necessarily have that many social references. So you're like, well, what is this thing that's inside of me? And, blah, blah, blah. And I think that by the time you are able to kind of make a decision, and thankfully kids are coming out much younger now, and you see they've got an incredible confidence because the social context is very different now. They've got things on the TV they can relate to. Yeah. But still, I think, what you hear about yourself as a kid, if you hear your brothers talking about poofters and queers and Nellies, you get a quick idea about what, coming out will entail. So, you wait until it's to the point where, you almost explode out of the closet. But I think that I also think that, how you feel about yourself is the starting point with all of these things, because, obviously what you've been taught about yourself as a kid is very powerful, and if you hear negative stuff about what you are, then you obviously grow up with some insecurities about that. But, I always say to gay people, once you start accepting what you are and loving what you are, it's incredible how much the world just kind of adapts around you. You can change it by saying, well, this is who I am, and this is, it's not better or worse than anyone else. It's just what I am. And
that feeling spreads to the person that you're dealing with.
Yeah,
and
I
usually,
think so.
If the person you're dealing with is an arsehole, then you don't talk to them anyway.
I was about to say, steer clear of all arseholes, but...
but not all. But
Sorry, Mum. It's her fault.
Oh, my God. Oh, God. Now, okay, I know that you are well known for being very outspoken, which I think is awesome. And I think that is partly why you are so inspiring to so many people across the world. You're just so brave and beautiful, and everybody loves that. So it moves people to be able to speak what's on their mind. But now we've got this really mad time where we have to be ever so careful. We don't have to be, but a lot of people are.
Yes.
Do you think that we should be more careful now? Or should we just continue on with our honesty? Is it important to be PC?
I don't see why we need to fight to insult each other. That's the thing. I got no issue with that. Like, as someone that grew up being called all sorts of names, I don't think there's anything endearing about, making
being mean,
nasty comments about people. However, I don't want to live in a world where there's no humour. When I said recently to someone that, as far as I'm concerned, as a gay man, somebody calling me a poof is very different from somebody trying to kill me, or somebody trying to stop me from working, or somebody trying to destroy my career. That's not the same as somebody calling me a poofter. And as someone who grew up with the press saying that about me, I mean, there was headlines. Wow, is it a man? Really? Is it a woman? Oh, yeah. I mean, I could show you hundreds of things. But he's a poof with muscles. Yeah, absolutely. And people don't understand
how times have changed.
They have changed. I think what it is actually is about adjusting to a new way of behaving, and, and saying, actually, yeah, it's okay. I don't need to get upset about not being able to say this. But the worry with that, I think, is that if everybody's saying what they think they should say, where does sincerity go? Where does objectivity hide? And that's the problem. And I think that anyone who's sort of a critical thinker, or anyone who reads books, anyone who loves music, is going to feel that way. Is going to feel like, well, I like troublemakers. I like someone with an axe to grind. Chrissy Hind. I think it's good to have regrets. Rupert Everett.
We like honesty. yeah.
I do. I like, but honesty and cruelty are not the same. Although I do like quite strong humour. I've been the victim of some strong humour, and it doesn't bother me because I've got tough skin. I don't mind if somebody makes a joke about me, as long as I can make one back.
Exactly. Yeah, I do think there is a bit of a balance that we need to strike on that one.
But I think if you're smart, you'll get through it.
Yeah, if you're smart, and also if you're kind, if you have a heart, you have to have a heart. But not everybody sees the heart. So
the internet is the dangerous factor here, because what it does is it takes away the pause from saying what you want to say. And what happens is that the sort of things we might say at home with our family in front of the TV, we're now saying to people in real life,
I know,
you've got fat.
This is crazy. No.
You're old, all this sort of stuff that people come out with. It's hilarious. And you just think, I try to be quite surreal with people that insult me. If somebody insults me in a way that makes me laugh, I sometimes follow them.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I've been called some funny things before, and I've just thought that is so funny. I've got to follow this person. And
you are good. Well done. How did you manage that?
I just think it's I suppose it's that Gemini thing of being able. There's twins, and one side is laughing and the other side is upset.
Right. Yeah.
It's just finding the space in the middle.
The Gemini thing. My very first boyfriend was a Gemini, and I remember I was really young. I'm talking 13, 14. And I loved him so much. I thought he was a wonderful, gorgeous person. And then every now and then he would just change on me and shock me and be like this other person. Is that quite common with Geminis?
I think being a Gemini and being a performer is a problem because, as performers, we're used to getting applause for everything we do. When you meet somebody that doesn't applaud you, you go like, why are you, I think that it makes you very insecure being a performer, and being a Gemini, I think is not helpful. But if you become a better Gemini, there's no one better to go out with. If you're a balanced Gemini that's sort of got a bit of a take on their own sort of accountability, able to sort of see themselves a bit like a moving camera. I think in that case, we can be the best friends, and we can be the best, we're naturally kind, but we do have that schizo element.
It's quite exciting being around a Gemini. It really is. You never know what's going to happen, and you never know when it's going to happen. It could be like a year from now, or it's kind of exciting. You're quite into your star signs, right?
Yeah, I'm into. I remember talking to Dr. Brian Cox, and he just was so it's just a lot of rubbish. And, I said, well, that's typical for an Aquarian to say that. No.
Of course.
I do think that there are characteristics of certain signs, and I see that a lot in my own life where, there's a lot of people I look around me and I suddenly think, oh my God. I said to someone the other day, if you run out of Aquarians, call me because I'm surrounded by them. And I also always meet Libran men. Libran men always seem to be allured to me. They always, I can almost say to a man, I bet you're a Libran, and it blows people's minds. But
do you find that Librans are very funny? I find they're really humorous.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would say about Librans is that, well, they can hold a grudge like no one on earth. But
that's so true.
They can hold a grudge literally to the point where I fell out with somebody who was a Libran about 20 years ago, and they still hate me now.
Oh no, really?
And it's incredible. And you think, really, I've never feud with anybody for more than 4 years.
Okay, that's long.
I could do 4 years, but eventually I'll just get over it. I can't hold grudges against people.
The longest I've done is a year, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was like, the upset still exists, but I love you anyway.
But eventually, you just get to a point where you go, why are we hating each other? Really?
So silly. It doesn't help anything.
It doesn't. It adds
we
nothing.
We must wash it with love consistently, even if the person is a complete twatto. Wash them with love.
No, the problem with that point of view is they might be feeling exactly the same about you.
I know. Yeah, exactly. And if we both wash each other with love, we'll be fine.
We could get over this if you want such a twat.
Yeah. Oh my God, if only. Jeez. I know there'd be some people that's listening going, oh my God, I totally understand. But there'll be other people that is listening going, I'm going to turn this off now because they're talking about fucking star signs.
Well, get over yourself. Did you say you were an Aries?
Yes, I am. Just like Aretha Franklin and Hitler.
But let me read this to you because I can read your one, then I'll read my one as well.
Okay, nice.
So it says, thuggishly self-absorbed,
Oh,
with
no.
argumentative, obsessed with anything to the point of pessimism.
Oh, no, that's not me. That's not me at all.
It's. Do you say Taurus or Aries?
No, Aries.
Oh, I got the wrong person. Wait a minute.
Oh, well, there you go. See?
No,
It
this
makes
is even
sense.
worse. Wait.
Oh, shit.
Oh, Aries. Okay,
Yeah.
so I was right. It says thuggishly self-absorbed and argumentative, obsessed with winning to the point of persisting at your own peril,
Oh, no.
with losing battles, knowing situations and lost causes. An outwardly arrogant shell covers up your own crushing self-doubt.
Oh,
Deep
my
inside,
goodness.
you don't think you're good enough. All that noise is for show, isn't it?
That is delightful. Let's have the Gemini one.
The Gemini one's so awful. I mean, you'll laugh your head off. You're a two-faced petty criminal who delights in others' misfortunes and reveals in scandal and gossip. With friends like Gemini, one doesn't need an enemy, although your friends don't always last that long because you're constantly hunting for better options, partners, a better life, a relentless search for where the grass might green and prevents you from relaxing in your own backyard.
Oh, dear. That's not good, is it? I wonder who wrote those. Somebody that's very angry with Geminis and Aries.
Some of that is true. I mean, when I read it, I was like, yeah, some of that's true.
With friends like these, you don't need enemies.
I do like gossip. I know it's a terrible
Do you?
quality, but I do. Yeah, I like gossip.
I think we all secretly like gossip. We all try not to, but who doesn't?
Especially if
We
it's
want to
juicy.
know, don't we?
Yeah.
We want to know. Even if we might not be the type to share it, we definitely want to know.
I can't say that I'm not the type to share.
Oh, no. I'm never going to tell you a secret, George, ever.
Well, no, if you tell me a secret, it'll probably end up as a lyric. That's where those things, they go into lyrics. Yeah, I always think, because I always find that people come out with the greatest lines and I think, oh, I've got to write that down. It's become a running joke in my circle that I'm always
That's
saying,
good.
write that down.
Yeah. You have to. They say one thing, it's like, right, that's the title. I got it. Do you keep a book?
Yeah,
Do you
I
keep
think
a book
it's true.
with you?
No, it's on my iPhone, so it's all technical. So it's like, okay, write this down. And sometimes I look back and think, what is that about? It's just a load of old gobbledygook. I've even written down in my phone, I've got a phone that hates me. I got a phone that hates me. I mean, come on.
It could be blues, for sure.
Yeah, it could
You know
be
what,
blues
why
or
not?
country. I
Yeah.
got a phone that hates me.
Oh my God, yes, that's going to be a tune. It's brilliant because I find with country songs and blues, it's like you can just basically have a chat and then sing it.
You can also do that with electro clash or electro music. You can
Electro?
kind of be quite electro, like Human League. Like you can say things like you were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar when I met you. It's sort of kind of, you can get away with that sort of straight talking.
Yeah. Do you find there's a certain style of music that puts you in a better mood than like something that you pull on every time you feel down or anything specific?
I would say reggae music is usually my go-to for kind of, I've got a playlist on Spotify called Isolation Skank, and I'm always adding new things. I forgot about that song. Oh my God. Just because, reggae is so vast and so, different dimensions, I love it. And I don't know, there's always a song, because I discovered reggae music in the 70s. So I remember that early Lovers Rock, Johnny Nash, that kind of stuff.
I was going to ask you actually about reggae because you've made loads of reggae music over the years. And I myself, I love a bit of reggae. I think it's certainly part of our culture just being from England because it's everywhere. It's all over our little island and it's part of our food and water that we eat and drink.
Absolutely.
But that brings me to the so controversial conversation of cultural appropriation, which is my favorite thing in the world. So I think it is extremely important to appreciate. So culturally appreciate, but now it's cultural appropriation. So they've kind of made it into a negative term, but it's so important. I really do feel it's so important to dip in and out.
I think it's only a negative term if you choose to look at it like that. But
Amen.
I would say that Jamaican culture is British culture. I have never lived in a world without it. I've never, ever lived in London without hearing and seeing, Black culture, Jamaican culture, particularly West Indian culture. That's what I grew up listening to. Then, of course, American soul music. So, all of my heroes are Black singers as a kid. So to me, it's something that I've always looked up to. It's something that, as a singer, I remember the first time I ever heard Sly Stone singing. I was a punk rocker when I heard Sly Stone. My friend Rhonda put on If You Want Me to Stay in her bedroom, and I just had a moment of like, wow, what the fuck is this?
It's wicked, yeah.
And
it's
that
just
song in
great
particular,
music.
If You Want Me to Stay, has no chorus.
Yes, you're right.
It's no chorus.
True.
If you want me, just no chorus. And it just chugs along with such authority and knowingness. And I just think that so many times in my life, I've listened to singers, whether it's Gladys Knight, Barry White, and of course, Bowie. I've always drawn from every single aspect of every culture. I was in a band called Culture Club. I am possibly the queen of cultural appropriation, if you want to look at it like that, because, those things have influenced me and still continue to influence me. And I would say I'm getting more brazen about my reference points, not less. I'm not shying away from them. I'm saying, I think you could look at it as cultural influence, not...
It's just that term, it's become a very negative term when really it's a very positive thing.
Don't deny your own cultural influence, whoever you are, because, that's how you leave your mark on society, on the universe. And, my life would be very empty without all of those very important things that have contributed to making me who I am, from reggae music, soul music, punk rock, disco, gay culture, straight culture. Every culture has influenced me. Fashion, anti-fashion, all of it.
And long may it continue.
Cultural sponges is what we are.
It's so true. It's all beautiful. It's all good. It's all positive.
Wash it with love, Joss.
Wash it with love. Oh, that's so lovely. I think it's great. I think that we should continue to do that brazenly, like you say.
Absolutely.
Don't let people bash that out of you. If you're living this life on this planet as part of a global world, don't let anybody bash that out of you, because you don't have to live in one little tiny spot of it just because somebody is more comfortable with you doing so.
I think if you're doing something from a place of love and respect and celebration, that's clear.
How can it be negative?
Well, I think it could be negative if you're maybe sending up someone's faith or mocking someone.
Yeah. It's the intention, isn't it? That's what matters.
It is, Over the years, I've met so many people that are equally obsessed with like reggae music, white kids, black kids, whatever. And you just think, wow, when you meet someone who enjoys the same musical frequency as you, it's such a beautiful moment. And
it's a link.
You can sit and talk about the most obscure reggae records with people. Yeah. It's an endless source of inspiration and joy.
It's a connection. It's lovely. Oh, thank you so much for chatting to me today, George.
It was great to talk to you. I think we talked about some important things and it was nice and easy.
Yeah, good vibes. All right, well, hopefully I'll come see you soon with a mask on and socially distance, give you a weird air hug.
Absolutely, and we should definitely write something together at some point.
Up for it.
I would love that.
All right, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Cheers.
See you later. Bye.